right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. We are on day 3 of the 30 Days of Death Shadow. I'm super excited for today. As you can see, today we're playing 4-color Shadow. Day 1, we were on Grixis. Day 2, we were on Jund. And now we get to blend the two together into 4-color Shadow. As a reminder to anyone new to the channel, this project, this 30 Days of Death Shadow, is a project of kind of self-accountability and self-improvement. I've committed myself to playing and recording 30 leagues, 30 days in a row of different Death Shadow variants, and it's really all about me trying to improve myself at this game that I really love to play. Yesterday and the day before, I had some good friends of mine helping me out here. Today I'll be flying solo, so we'll see how things go. 4-color Shadow, in my opinion, is definitely a step up in difficulty from Jund Shadow that we were playing yesterday. So in Jund Shadow, we definitely have that straightforward game plan, or somewhat straightforward game plan of Thoughtseize Inquisition right into a big threat to try to beat down our opponent, kill them as fast as we can. In 4-color Shadow, we're taking elements of that, but we're also splashing in a lot of control elements as well, and by adding in the 4 Stubborn Denial and some blue cards in the sideboard in additional permission. As we saw yesterday, Jund Shadow, while a really fun deck and a really effective aggro deck, is really soft to some things that go way over the top of it. So, referencing back to the Bring to Light Scapeshift deck that we played against, Stubborn Denial is huge in a matchup like that, because you don't have to worry as much about driving your life total down really low and getting in with huge creatures when you know you just have a 1-mana negate backing you up in case anything really goes wrong. Additionally, we played against Living End, which for Jund is really, really a difficult matchup. But, you know, in 4-color, again, you have some Stubborn Denials and some additional permission in the sideboard that may be able to help you out in that. So, yeah, we're going to give this deck a shot. Let me break down the deck tech real quick for you. You can see that we have a lot of the same elements of the Jund Shadow list, where we have the Baubles, the Street Wraiths, and the Traverses, and we also have a huge glut of hand disruption. So there again is a lot of that element of like turn 1 hand disruption, turn 2 threat of like Death Shadow and Tarmogoyf, things like that. But we also get to play Drown in the Loch, which is a really powerful, can be a really powerful card in our main deck, counterspell and / removal spell in certain spots, and we play a lot of Stubborn Denial. 4 Stubborn Denial as well. And then we also, of course, get to play the Lurrus package to rebuy Baubles, rebuy threats as well if they end up in the graveyard. Yesterday I was playing this, or last night I was playing this through the practice queue and frankly kind of getting stomped. So unfortunately it doesn't augur too well for us today. But I think a small part of that is I was trying out Snapcaster and Scourge in the main deck. And both of them, for very different reasons, were not really working. Snapcaster just didn't end up coming up as a thing that I needed. Of course, there's some lines where you traverse for a Snapcaster, Snap Thoughtseize or something. You can do crazy lines like that sometimes out of nowhere. That can be helpful, but that felt really few and far between, and it was more often just a card in hand not doing anything for me. Same for Scourge. Scourge of the Skyclaves is a really tough sell when you're not playing 1-drop haste creatures or playing lightning bolts or direct damage to the opponent's face in your deck. So Scourge is really tough. In a deck like this, Scourge ends up just being, honestly, more of like a win more card. You've already hit them with a huge Death Shadow, and then you can play your Scourge. Well, maybe if Scourge was just another Death Shadow or some other threat, or just maybe even a Stubborn Denial, it'd be even better. So it's kind of a tough sell. So I've decided to go ahead and cut these two and bring back 2 Cling to Dust. Now, Cling to Dust stock has gone down a lot since Uro is not in the format anymore, but I still think it's a really powerful card in this shell. Really helps to turn on Traverse the Uvenwald and helps us grind out in the late game, drawing extra cards as the game goes long. All right, we're going to peek at the sideboard. Again, I'm just trying to just stay as hedged as I can. It's a wide open metagame right now. So we got Veil of Summer for the fair matchups for decks playing black and blue. We're playing Nile Spellbomb to help take care of the graveyard. Collective Brutality, there's just a ton of red decks running around right now, and aggressive burn decks, stuff like that. We got Ether Gust, which helps in both the red matchups and in the Titan matchups, so a really flexible, great card. Another really flexible card is Assassin's Trophy, which can help us from anywhere from things like Tron to Eldrazi Tron to... I'm even thinking about bringing it against Titan now because we don't have Field of the Dead to worry about anymore, which is amazing. And then even sometimes I bring in Assassin's Trophy. I just need more removal spells against the humans deck, something like that. Disdainful Stroke, again, a lot of big mana, things like that running around. Plague Engineer for all the tribal matchups. You know, Elves got a lot of tools in Kaldheim, so you can see a lot of that. We got Ashiok. A little bit of help in the graveyard matchups, but also more for the decks that search a lot. So Bring to Light Scapeshift, Red-Green Scapeshift, Amulet Titan, stuff like that. And then we got two Kozilek's Return, because we just have to have an out to those pro-black creatures. Those creatures really give us a hard time. So with that being said, we're going to dive in. I'm super excited about this one. Yeah, flying solo today. So if you see anything that I've done that's really bad, you see something where I've really fumbled or really made a wrong mistake, please don't hesitate to comment in the comment section below. You know, this is why I'm doing this. You know, I honestly have a really hard time. I have a big blind spot to my own mistakes a lot of the times, and I don't notice them. And that's why I have to involve other people to really help me improve. And that's just kind of what this channel is all about. You know, I'm not professing to be any kind of expert with Magic or Death Shadow, but it's just a game that I love so much and really want to improve on. So it's kind of a big reason why I'm, you know, taking part in this 30-day project. But yeah, 4-color is always a good time, even if you play badly. It still, in my opinion, produces some either really funny, hilarious, or bizarre situations you have to puzzle out. Yesterday, I played against this really, really hilarious, goofy affinity deck that, like, I kid you not, it was playing, like, the improvised creatures from, like, Aether Revolt and stuff, and it genuinely just spit out this entire hand on turn 1. And, like, not exaggerating. Like, you know, people said about, like, Old Affinity, like, it did that, but sometimes Old Affinity would, like, do half their hand, and then they'd follow it up with, like, a Cranial Plating and a Gal Blast, something. This hand truly, like, all 0-mana artifacts, and then, like, that 7/5 uncommon from Aether Revolt that has to attack every turn, and it was so hilarious. So, okay, so, and they were also playing, oh gosh, what's the card? Salvage Titan, you know, the one that you exile artifacts from your graveyard to get it back, and then you sack artifacts on the board to get it down for free. So they put out like a 7/8 or something. They had some equipment that attached to it. So they put out some big, huge Salvage Titan. And then I hadn't even taken a turn yet. So I drew my card, and I had 2 lands, a Death Shadow, and a Temur Battle Rage. And that's all that I needed to try to figure out the win. Now, it took me so long to think through it. Thank God I had my friend Mike there with me. And he kind of explained the line. But then I was like, oh, okay. So this deck is truly like, sometimes it's mental gymnastics. It's like, you know, a good friend of mine yesterday said that playing a game of Death Shadow, or a powered match of Death Shadow, felt like, you know, taking like a math exam or something. And it really, really does feel that way sometimes. After some games, you just feel exhausted playing Death Shadow because it is just so much mental workings going on here. Okie doke. So we are 2 minutes into the modern queue, which is really strange, considering you can see the active players is already like doubled from where it was a few days ago before the bans. So maybe we're just hitting a weird lull. Let me reset my internet real quick just in case. Okay, let's see, resetting the internet just in case it's on my end. Yeah, I have never waited more than a minute and a half to get queued up in a modern game. Here we go. Alright, so maybe it's my internet. I had to reset my internet. Alright, y'all, let's dive in. We won the die roll. That's fantastic. Let's get this going. Alright, I'm never throwing back a hand like this. As you guys can see, this is just a classic Jund Shadow hand, right? We have hand disruption into Tarmogoyf, and, you know, that's kind of a big pillar of what this deck does, so... And our opponent mulligans, which is might be good for us, may not. Sometimes decks set mull really aggressively. Yeah, they're going to 5. So if they're like Tron, sometimes you Inquisition a Tron opponent, and they just show you like Natty Tron and payoffs, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm dead. And then sometimes they're Dredge, and occasionally the Dredge player is really spicy. They'll only keep in cards that you don't want to go to their graveyard. They mulled to 5. I don't really see a reason to fetch a shock. I'm just going to shock in the Overgrown Tomb and Inquisition. And I'm not going to cycle Street Wraith yet because I want to see if it can do something for us. Alright, we're up against a Bring to Light deck. So obviously we're going to take this Path to Exile. They have 1, 2... I'm just trying to see already if this Drownalock could ever counter this Bring to Light. It might. Let's see, they got 1, 2, 3 cards. We know, like these 2 fetch lands in the path are going to be 3. And, you know, maybe in the course of the game they'll cast some more spells. We'll see. Dismember's not really what we want to see here. Generally speaking, against a Bring to Light deck. But that being said, we're just going to play the Tarmogoyf and pass. Again, we're just holding onto the Street Wraith just in case it gets us some value down the road. My thinking is that if I don't get anything here, I'll probably just cycle it for additional damage, with the Tarmogoyf, because it will grow it. Okay, that's the reason. So if we cycle here and we hit, say, a Mishra's Bauble, then we have Traverse online, which is something we're interested in. Death Shadow's pretty cool. So now this Dismember could potentially dismember a... Well, couldn't dismember a Tarmogoyf because it would kill it, but maybe we'll find a target for this Dismember to make a big Shadow. That being said, I'm just going to play the tried and true, just big, thick Goyfs, you know, see if we can get in there. Occasionally, these big ramp decks just have cards that don't really interact. Sometimes. They may have a Remand here. We'll see. But yeah, sometimes I've definitely had games where you Inquisition away something really great from your opponent, and they're a ramp deck, and they just end up playing a lot of ramp spells, a lot of stuff like that, and then just kind of spin their wheels, and then you just end up killing them with just 2 big Goyfs. If this sticks, okay, so if these stick, we are on a 2-turn clock, right? Because these are 8 total. Not saying I'm expecting them to stick. That's a really good sign. We didn't see Teferi Time Raveler. I was worried a little bit about that. Okay, we get to hold up Drown in the Loch, which is really cool. Ooh, Thoughtseize is great, though. I'm going to go ahead and Thoughtseize. My reasoning here is that I would love to get Death Shadow online. Also, I'm going to Thoughtseize before to potentially grow Tarmogoyfs. And I'm okay going down, shields down on this Drown in the Loch for a turn. Also, I think that Drown in the Loch is looking right at that Bring to Light. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is definitely one of those lucky kind of moments where, you know, yeah, we're just presenting lethal now. Yeah. Yeah, that was really... Yeah, see, again, this is kind of the ramp deck thing, right? Like, we're forcing them to top deck. Now, I guess the only thing we would be worried about is something like main deck Supreme Verdict, which would be pretty bad, obviously. Yeah, so main deck Supreme Verdict would really get us. Thankfully, looks like they didn't draw it. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next game. Cool. So, let me just check something real quick with Bring to Light. It's a blue-green card. Okay, I just wanted to double check. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Cynic. I'm not sure. I think Aether Gust will probably have a role to play here. Yeah, I think Aether Gust could be good. A lot of these decks play Ren and 6 as well, so maybe that's something we can snag with an Aether Gust. Ashiok, of course. I mean, their deck, it's all their deck does is search, right? It ramps, fetch lands, Bring to Light, stuff like that. We're interested in Disdainful Stroke, just more counters to a big Bring to Light. And I think that's about all that I'm interested in. Definitely don't want these Fatal Pushes. I don't think they're going to have targets. Dismember can be a Shadow Enabler, so I think I'm interested there. Is there anything else? Maybe there's an argument for Collective Brutality. Maybe that's better than a Dismember. Or Hand Disruption. Let's try out a Brutality. Yeah, let's try one out. Let's see if it, because it does hit Bring to Light, which is a big deal. You know, if they're Bring to Lighting for a excuse me, they Bring to Light for a Scapeshift. Obviously, that can just kill us out of nowhere, so that's important. And then also they could Bring to Light for, sometimes they play Valky, and so sometimes they can just on 5 mana rather, just Bring to Light for Valky, and that can be really good. This hand's interesting. Obviously, I'm really interested in it because it's got Tarmogoyf and it's got Stubborn Denial. I think this is fine, actually, because, excuse me, if worse comes to worse, we can play Polluted Delta, which can grab Overgrown Tomb, and then we can fetch and then, you know, Cling to Dust it. That's a really, really good draw, actually. So we're going to go Bauble, and we're going to go Delta. We're just going to pass. So if our opponent taps out for, like, let's say they go for like a Ren and 6 on this turn 2, and they tick up to try to get a land back, we can Cling to Dust that land and, you know, potentially take them off of land if it ends up coming up. But we also have the option to stub a Ren and 6 if they go for one. Okay, this is fine too. I'm going to go ahead and bobble myself. I'm going to save this Cling. I think it might end up being useful later. But we're going to scry ourselves. I'm not interested in a Bloodstained Mire, so I'm just going to shuffle that away. And I'm going to grab an Overgrown Tomb. And, you know what? I'm definitely tapping out next turn for Tarmogoyf, so I'm just going to go ahead and get value out of this Cling. And get a redraw here. Oh, we draw Death Shadow. That's pretty good. Let's see what we draw here. Okay. So actually, we have every fetchable Shockland. That's actually not very good for us. Because that means that it's going to be a lot harder to turn on this Death Shadow from just Shocklands. That being said, though, having 2 Stubborn Denials in hand can potentially be really good. I think we have to kind of fade them casting something big next turn, because otherwise if we get to untap and hold up Stub, or potentially maybe just go land, get out Bobble, with, or sorry, land Lurrus, get Bobble, maybe something like that could be good. Okay, they're just passing. So do we have a way to grow this Tarmogoyf? Because it's just a 3-4. Your power has to be 4 or greater. So actually these are just soft stubs right now. So we need Street Wraith would be our best draw. Okay. Not a Street Wraith. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively shock in this breeding pool. We're just going to go to attacks here. See what happens. Looks like they have a removal spell. Fatal Push would actually be fine here because then we have Lurrus for that. Okay, looks like they were going to cast something and then they didn't. I think I'm fine holding up 2 soft stubs, especially if they put any sorcery in the graveyard, then these will be, that will grow the Goyf and then these will be hard counters. Additionally, if they want to tap out for a non-creature 4-drop, we have that covered with these Stubborn Denials. Funny enough, Field of Ruin is actually fairly good against us, but I mean, in here, if they just Field of Ruin us and do nothing else with their turn, that's probably okay with us. That's a really good draw, because that turn makes the Tarmogoyf ferocious, and it helps grow our Death Shadow. So that's actually a fantastic draw. So we're just going to shock in Blood Crypt and Thoughtseize. And if they have a removal spell, this will provoke it, most certainly. If they tap out, we're definitely going to stub. Oh yeah, that's one of our best stub targets for sure. Really feels good to soft stub a Cryptic command like that. Path to Exile and Engineered Explosives. So we're taking this Path to Exile because it's instant speed, and we want to force them to play on their own turn. That's better for us. So we're going to take that. You could potentially argue for taking Explosives because it grows the Goyf. However, we are approaching lethal. Let's see. Because we have... Can we make this Death Shadow a 6/6? It's just a 4/4 right now. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have any more fetch lands. We don't have any more shock lands, unfortunately. So we'll see. Additionally, with Engineered Explosives, it's like we're committing them to pick a number here. And if they like... Okay, that's pretty good. So... I think... I'm going to... Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to stub this. Because if they Explosives and crack, then we can Lurrus get back whatever they kill. So whether they go on 1 or 2 here, we can just Lurrus get it right back. Yeah. Whereas this, the Exile, actually is really huge. And also, we knew that was their draw for turn. We knew what their hand was. Yep. So they're just going to do this. I really hope we find something that will threaten lethal. Actually, what we can do is we can play the fetch land, and they'll think that we have another shock land to play. Yeah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the fetch land, and we're going to go to attacks. Because we really want them to pop this EE here. Okay, good, they're going to. Looks like they're going to. Cool. So it actually grows the Goyf, because there's Explosives goes to the yard. And, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and Lurrus. And we're going to get Death Shadow back. This does not play around a Sweeper, but this does play around Snapcaster Mage. Oh no, he doesn't play because they can snap, block, and then kill, and then okay. Well, it better plays around Snapcaster Mage. All right, they didn't draw anything. So okay, so a couple things about that match. Number one, we got to execute on the game plan that we wanted to do. So it was very fortunate. That doesn't always happen with Four Color Shadow. So we got to execute on the game plan we wanted to. And second, their deck really suffered from the... It's funny, it's an old school drawback of ramp decks. So like, Uro was so crazy, in my opinion, because in ramp decks, it was both the enabler, because it ramped you mana, but it was also a payoff, because it was a 6/6 beater that drew you cards and that ended the game quick. So, you know, we really saw there, like, the fragility now of ramp decks. A deck like Death Shadow can really more optimally prey on ramp decks than it could before. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, a deck like that, you know, really pummels, like, the Jund deck I played yesterday, or just, you know, classic Jund, stuff like that. Other fair decks. This hand's not keepable. This is just a random redraw. Temur Battle Rage is really bad. You don't have a threat, and we have 5 lands in a deck that tends to function off 2 lands. So we just mulligan this. This hand's pretty solid. This hand's pretty solid. We need to hit that second land. Otherwise, even, let's say, actually, funny enough, what if we hit a Death Shadow and they play out a creature? We just have, like, Dismember, Thoughtseize, Fetch Shock, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and keep. And here, okay, if we don't hit that second land, we still want to be able to effectively disrupt our opponent. So I'm going to bottom the Temur Battle Rage. I'm going to cycle Street Wraith first. Yeah, I think I'm just cycling Street Wraith first. Alright, stub. Okay, now that we drew a stub, I'm tempted to pass and hold up Stubborn Denial, then untap and Thoughtseize. So this is a play that you might do sometimes. This may not be the best spot to do it in. Okay, let's see if we get rewarded if they go for like a Utopia Sprawl. Oh, Arboreal Grazer. Okay, yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and Fetch Shock Dismember this, because we really want to try to draw that Death Shadow and then do what we can with it. I'm going to grab an Overgrown Tomb in case we top deck a Traverse the Uvenwald, and then we can Traverse for a basic land. Alright, so if we draw a Death Shadow... Okay, no Death Shadow. I'm going to go ahead and Inquisition. Alright, so yeah, just classic Amulet. We can go ahead and just take the Summoner's Pact. The Explorer's just a redraw. I mean, yeah, lets them ramp, but Summoner's Pact's the payoff. Cool. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we may not see that second land, and I might get super punished for both how I sequenced and for the keep, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so we didn't know about that one. So that was one of the blind draws, correct. So we got Boros Garrison. Cool. Yeah, I mean, they're super ready just to rock and roll once they get going. Hope we hit a land or Death Shadow. Land's great. Okay, we've got a 4/5 Tarmogoyf and a Dream here. We're only at 8 life, but let's see what we can get done. If they don't do anything, that's really good for us. We can hold up Stub. We can Thoughtseize as well. Looks like they hit something, though. Yeah, Dryads. Dryads. Well, we have the Dismember for Dryad. Amulet, that's great. So they're ready to rock and roll. I mean, if they hit anything at all. There's Forest. So I think actually, do we know their hand? Yeah, we know their hand actually. So we're not gonna Thoughtseize. We're just gonna Dismember this. Hopefully we draw Death Shadow. Ooh. Oh, no way to trigger Revolt. Oops, let me hold up Stub. We have to kill this. They have Valakut in hand, and Valakut with Dryad, obviously. Y'all know what happens there. Bad things start happening. So this Radiant Fountain's sick because it actually turns the Tarmogoyf from a 4-turn clock at a 5/6 to a 5-turn clock, which probably is all that they need. We really need to hit a Death Shadow. Death Shadow is the most important here. So if I tracked incorrectly, no, I didn't track incorrectly. Recall back. Oh, they just want to keep replaying that. That's fair. That makes sense. All right, we're just gonna try to grind through this. Does it gain 2 life when it enters? Yeah, it gains 2. So this once that they did this doesn't increase the clock, but it will if they bounce it again. Death Shadow. Not a Death Shadow. I think I might as well Thoughtseize here. They got 1 unknown. It's Valakut, Ghost Quarter unknown. Alright, but Garen Break, sure. Alrighty. I believe we're dead anyway if they hit it, so I'm just gonna let that go. We're gonna save this for a Summer's Pact. I'm gonna fetch tapped Blood Crypt because if we draw Temur Battle Rage, we're gonna want to kill them. Traverse. We traverse for a shadow and then cross our fingers. Right. Yeah, that doesn't matter, right? Yeah, that doesn't matter. They should have done that. They should have done that on their end step. When I fetch tapped, they should have done that on their end step. Because if I had a Battle Rage there, I just float red, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just processing that and just making sure I'm not losing anything or missing anything. Cool. All right, y'all. This is always how it goes, right? We have Amulet Titan backed up into a corner, but you know what they're about to top deck. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. It is always the Titan there and never the Summoner's Pact. Wow. I feel like I got away with murder. But isn't that sick? Did I tell you they were going to top deck it? Did I tell you they were going to? That's so amazing. Okay, so obviously, thank goodness we had the answer there. Cool. Well, that was exciting for sure. All right, so this one's usually a struggle for me with sideboarding. I'm going to usually trim on a Traverse because of them going after graveyards with Bojuka Bog. Sometimes that can get you. So I don't want to be too reliant on that. We can just trim a Traverse. I think that's fine. We can cut the Cling to Dusts because the graveyard is not that relevant. Plus, like I was saying about Bojuka Bog, so we're probably not going to be able to escape it, most likely. Drown in the Loch is fine. It's not amazing. They don't fill up their graveyards much, but hopefully we can help them out with that with some Inquisitions. I'm going to trim a Fatal Push. I like Dismember a lot here, actually, to get their early Dorks. And then that also grows the shadow. So if we're cutting this, maybe we trim on a Drown the Loch. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just too unreliable. I'm trying out Assassin's Trophy here because they don't have Field of the Dead anymore. And I want to see if trophying a Titan will get something done here. We want Street Wraith. We want Battle Rage. This is a go-go fast matchup. This is like, we got to kill him quick. I'm bringing in the 2 trophies. Maybe we cut a push. Maybe we hedge. We just only bring in 1 trophy. Let's try that. Because we don't want to draw trophy and then like trophy an Arboreal Grazer. That would be really, really bad. We wouldn't want that. I'm sorry. Aether Gust obviously is a really amazing answer to Titan. Wow. Y'all, look, if this was a Thoughtseize, this hand would be the literal best hand. But okay, so how much damage are we doing ourselves? If we lead on Peatland, that's 1/2 by turn 2, and Fetch Shock is going to be 5. And then 6, yeah. This really feels bad to mulligan. If this was a Thoughtseize, even if this is a Street Wraith, we just got to mull. Alright, well, we got really rewarded. This is an amazing hand. I think I'm going to actually bottom Tarmogoyf. Let's hold on. Before I do that. Fetch Shock is 3. Street Wraith is 5. Thoughtseize is 7. And then, oh yeah, so we can turn 2 Double Shadow. So we're going to try to do that. Obviously, this gets really, really blown out by Engineered Explosives. But one, let's hope that they are doing other things to develop their mana before that, and that they can't be able to get that out going too quickly. Turn 1 Amulets, always scary. What we're going to do is actually... Wow, that's a really good draw. We're going to actually cycle Street Wraith first. Are we going to? No, because there's nothing else I'd rather do, right? Actually, I'm just going to save it. Yeah, I'm just going to save it. Yep, Fetch Shock, Overgrown Tomb, Thoughtseize. Look at that. So, we have Aether Gust for whatever they Summoner's Pact for. Let's take the Explosives. The reason I held onto a Street Wraith was in case we drew a Bauble next turn. What'd they draw? Another amulet? Okay. That guy's scary because they already have Valakut in hand. Alright, things are getting a little scary for sure. Okay, hold on. So they have... These are their 2 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana next turn. So they could pact for something next turn if they wanted to. Definitely getting scary here. Okay, we drew the Inquisition. So, let's think about this for a second. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield, if you control at least 5 other mountains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you need to control 5 other. So if they top deck a land next turn, if it's a bounce land... No, we're good because they can't trigger Valakut. If they draw a bounce land with the Dryad, they'll be able to Titan next turn. Let's go ahead and cycle Street Race, see what we get. Okay. So if they top deck a bounce land, they're Titaning. Which is a bummer. I think it means we have to Inquisition away the Summoner's Pact. And then... play a Shadow. Pass turn. And then next turn we get to fetch Shock, Shadow, and hold up Ether Gust. They hit the bounce land that we got so rewarded. Oh my goodness. So, what are we doing playing this bounce land? Oh, just to make more plant tokens. That's fine. That makes sense. Alright. Yeah. Ooh. That's a good draw. Okay, so we're going to attack with the Death Shadow first. I'm guessing they'll just chump with the plant. Sure. And then we get to go second Shadow. We get to hold up both Gust and Dismember. How does this... Do we get punished by in any way by this? Maybe a fetched land that turns on... Alright, so no. And then they'll play the Valakut as their second land for turn? No, they won't. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and Dismember this. Alright, we have Gust, which is an insane top deck. So... if I go to 4... These are 9/9s. If I just fetch Shock, these are 10/10s, putting them dead next turn. So if I Shock down to 4 and I fetch Shock to 1, is there any advantage there? I don't think that there is. So I'm just going to fetch Shock here. I want these 10/10s because they're going to plant chump one of them. And then this way, they're taking 10 damage, making both these Death Shadows lethal. They need to top deck Engineered Explosives. If they top deck Engineered Explosives, we're probably dead. Yeah, we're probably not winning this game. But anything else we've got covered with Gust. They've conceded. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Alright, well, so that game really came down to we mulliganed. We threw back a tempting hand, which was the double Death Shadow, double Stubborn Denial hand, but it just had no way of turning on shadows, and we got very rewarded on our mulligan, and we just had this awesome insurance. That Dismember top deck was insane. That Inquisition top deck was insane. So we're just getting super lucky to start out this league, which feels great. And it means that for me, I'm always trying to 3-2. That's just me, for me personally. That's kind of like my par, basically. For me on MTGO leagues. I know for a lot of people who are much more talented, it's like 5-0s is what they're going for, which I totally respect. For me, it's just 3-2s, because 3-2s means I get my money back. I'm able to run things back with another league, and a 3-2 makes me feel proud that I did better than I did worse, you know? So I'm just always fighting for 3-2s. It's just kind of my own thing. And so, yeah, that means I only got to win one more game, and I will feel satisfied with this league for sure. All right, we're going to see what we play against next. Looks like we are just really succeeding. At least we've gotten very lucky. We've run really well against the big mana decks so far, and that's really cool. That definitely feels good. You know, Death Shadow. That it felt like that was Death Shadow's kind of, you know, their strength really. This hand's really good. We just have double Thoughtseize. We have the Temur Battle Rage, Tarmogoyf, Death Shadow. Yeah, this is a really good hand. Let's hope we draw another land, because to turn on this Temur Battle Rage, we need a black-red source, which means we couldn't cast this Goyf, but we'll see what we draw into. Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, it felt like Death Shadow had a really good big mana matchup, but in the Uro kind of era, it really didn't feel that way, because their tools were just so powerful. They're so much more powerful than ours. But, you know, now that, like, they've had to make some real sacrifices, and they're not, honestly, they're just not playing Field of the Dead. It's a huge deal. Okay, we get Basic Force, Noble Hierarch. Maybe we're up against Infect. That would be interesting. All right, so let's think about damage output. We've got, this is 3, 5, 7, and this would make a 1/1 Shadow on turn 2 if we played these 3. This is 1, 3, 5, 8. So I think we peat land instead of fetching and shocking. Yeah, I think we just peat land. Yeah, I'm thinking Infect, Basic Force, Noble Hierarch, or maybe Bant Snowblade or something like that. Oh, okay, sure. This is awesome. This is awesome. Spike Feeder's annoying, and it makes top-decked... Yeah, it makes top-deck Heliod's lethal, but I think Ranger Captain's more devastating as the 2-for-1. So they're most likely just playing the Spike Feeder, and I think we're going to go Thoughtseize into Death Shadow, and we're going to take that Archangel Thune. In case anyone's never seen it before, Spike Feeder Archangel is a pretty sweet combo. It means infinite life and infinite life and the arbitrarily large creatures, because you remove a counter from here, you gain life, and then Archangel Thune makes you add counters to all your creatures. It's a really fun combo. I've played a lot of this combo. I don't know how good Stub is going to be here, but we're about to find out. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, we're just going to fetch shock for a Death Shadow. And we're grabbing a Blood Crypt to turn on Temur Battle Rage. And I think our game plan here is just to try to get this boy as large as we can, as fast as we can. And hope to fade some top decks from the opponent. Wow, they shock it in. That's scary. I hope that means they have Collected Company and they're just passing the turn. I really hope that's what that means, because we've bluffed that we're Jund Shadow. Let's pass the turn, opponent. They wised up. They wised up. All right, so that was a top deck that we needed to fade and we didn't. So yeah, so like now just things get way out of hand. So we need a Dismember. Yeah, Ballista. And probably second, honestly, Ballista's pretty good here. We can just make a big Ballista and kill us. Okay, Ballista Arbor Elf, sure. Yeah, great Collected Company. They got super rewarded for their sequencing. And I know, Pygonti's a really familiar name, so I know, I don't expect any less from them playing really tight like that, so. Hold on, let's think about this. So, if we attack with a 5/5... Do they block? They just put double Ranger Captain in front of it? We might have to just Tarmogoyf pass, which feels pretty bad. Okay. So if I attack, I'm bluffing. I have like Dismember, and I think I'm gonna get my bluff called if I attack. So I'm just going to pass. So the scary part here is that if they top deck anything really worth casting, I'm surprised they didn't sack Ranger Captain first here. Very surprised. Yep. Wow, why didn't they? It's so free to do that. Like, if we have Dismember here, we just totally wreck them, right? Oh, no, because they can just sack Ranger Cap. If I go to Dismember Heliod, then they can just start the loop of gaining infinite life. Okay. No, that was smart. I'll take back what I said. That was pretty good. They're probably going to do it on my upkeep, I would guess. I think that's the time to do it. As soon as they just go for the spike feeder, I'll just concede because we can't beat it. Yeah, we can't beat this, so we're going to concede to them. We would never beat this in paper. We can't beat it now. Yeah, and honestly, we wouldn't even have to go up to much life to kill me because they just have the ballista next turn. So yeah, so our opponent both played extremely well and then they top decked like champs. So that's exactly what you're looking for when you're playing Magic, right? Okay, so we need K return because they play pro black creatures, which really give us a hard time. So we need those. I'm temp Plague Engineer as well as an answer to that, something like that. Let's see, what do we like, what do we don't like? Drownlock can potentially counter a Heliod, which is pretty cool. We don't need Clings in this matchup. Let's see, we have to cut 3 more cards. We just like trim on a Traverse. Stubs actually are not very good, are they? Because it only hits Collected Company. They probably have Path Exile and things like that, so 2 is probably fine. Gust, of course, they play a lot of green creatures. Yeah, let's give this a shot. Wow, this is one of those like classic Jund hands, right? Like you have all the answers, but you don't have a threat. I'm gonna keep this because if we top deck a threat, this hand's very good, and we have a scry with the bauble, so I'm gonna keep this as a risk. But I'm feeling pretty good about. Whoop, let me play the bauble though. Feeling pretty good about this hand actually. And who knows, maybe they go for Utopia Spell turn 1, we get to stub it. Okay, that's actually fine for us as well. That tells me they probably have a turn 2 Ariok champion. Let's really want to Thoughtseize because I have the read that they have the Ariok champion. Oh wow! All right, now our hand just got insane. So now what do I want to do? I would like to. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna fetch shock with the Bloodstained Mire to grab a Watery Grave. I will need red down the line. So what I could have done, actually, alternatively, I could actually grab Blood Crypt here, and with the Polluted Delta, grab, Breeding Pool, and I would have all my colors. Yeah, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and just play for that? Yeah, why don't we just go ahead and play for that? We just have all our colors, and then that way we just make all of our top decks, maximize our top decks. Okay, no, they don't have it, but they have other things that are just honestly just as good. Yeah, this is just, you know what, this deck lost to Death Shadow once, and they said never, ever again. Okay, so we have Stub for the path, so we're going to have to chewing through these Skyclave Apparitions, and that's not even ignoring the fact that we don't have an answer to their combo, but we just have to start chewing through Skyclave Apparitions. Oh no, I'm sorry, we have Fatal Pushes, so... we really need to top deck another Thoughtseize. That would be our best draw. Take the other Skyclave Apparition. Okay, another Fatal Push. If I fetch Shock down to 12, and I play out a Death Shadow, they will path it, and then that doesn't really get us anywhere, so we're going to have to pass. Hopefully they just tap out for Spike Feeder, and we can just fetch Shock here and Fatal Push it. So while I do believe pretty strongly this is not a good matchup for us, I do think, though, at the end of the day, it's still, like, pretty good engaging Magic. For me, like, I don't know, Double Simian Spirit Guide, Oops All Spells, Charbelcher stuff, just didn't, I mean, you could argue maybe that was good matchups for Death Shadow, but I just didn't, it just felt so binary. It's like, okay, I have this thing, I just kill you immediately, and it's like, oh, if you have the answer, then you got me. If you don't have the answer, And that's like Tibble's Trickery was that way too. I don't know. So I think at least, it feels at least like we're playing some Magic here, Like, we're making some decisions. And, honestly, like, our opponent here made an awesome decision last game to main phase their Coco instead of doing it on our turn, which is more traditional. to play around a potential of us being 4-color with stub. And again, look, they're just not committing to the board because they've identified what's going on here. They know what's in my hand. My hand's pretty face up, like, right? And I can't play out this threat because they have all these answers. So they can just keep passing because they know in the long run they're favored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we can pass again. Dismember's kind of cool, actually, because that helps turn on this Death Shadow to make it ferocious for our Stubborn Denial. But, you know, for our opponent here, I mean, they're pretty happy just to play just land path. Yeah, look at them. They're just like fine. Because they know that if they play creatures, they're going to die. So, discarding to hand size feels really bad. I was really hoping to hit a fetch land there. So we could play out a Death Shadow. Yeah, we're just going to discard a Fatal Push to hand size. Because, here's the thing. We play out a Death Shadow, it gets pathed, or it gets Skyclaved Apparition, and I want to be able to set myself up to be in a position where that's not going to happen. Oh, turn off auto yields, turn off auto yields. Because if they go for a Coco here, we're going to stub it. Yep. And this is fine by our opponent as well, because it's pretty clear what they're doing. They're just trying to chew through our resources, which makes sense. But we are more than happy to convert on this stub and not have to discard to hand size. That was actually really good for us. I'm wondering actually if our opponent was supposed to untap again. Alright, so it'd be really sweet if they tapped out for this Archangel of Thune, because then we could dismember it. Okay, does this mean that they're holding up Veil Summer? At the very least with Veil Summer, at least we get these Death Shadows to be pretty big. Excuse me, and my eternal struggle to cast the card Dismember. Always, just never can. Alright, is it a Veil Summer? Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, well, I don't think we were winning this game. It is what it is. Alright, well, there's the Inquisition for the Path or the Skyclave Apparition. And we can try to bluff like we have... Oh, yikes, yeah, they got us just so dead in a million ways. Yeah, they got the Archangel of Thune. Yeah, that Veil Summer was really brutal. But what we're going to do... We're just going to take this path. And then we're going to pass the turn. And if they go for it, they'll win. But, you know, who knows? Maybe they'll respect another Dismember. They should probably jam, though, I think. Because the downside of jamming here is pretty low. You know. Good games. Yeah, I mean, that's just already a bad matchup, and then you introduce Veil Summer. Yeah, I'm not going to sweat it too hard. Well, at the very least... We're going at a decent pace here. We only got 2 more games. Because we have yet to go to a game 3, which is kind of nice. Kind of nice not have to grind through. That's the only thing about... I play a lot of Jund matches, or Jund leagues, and these... Oh my god, I played a Jund league last night. It had to be like 3.5 hours. It was such a grind. Every match was just an absolute grind fest. Played against like Blue-Red, or Blue Moon rather, and against Aspiring Spikes, Jeskai Lotus Field deck, and it was just like every game was just such a grind. So at least Death Shadow is pretty more snappy, just getting out. Alright, lost the die roll again. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. So we have potentially have lands, instant sorcery to put to the graveyard for this Traverse. I do really like having double hand disruption, and we do have this Lurrus, so if we top deck a Bauble, not only does it turn on Traverse, but it also helps out our Lurrus. I think that's high enough upside. We would fetch shock for humans. Ah, this is not the hand we wanted against humans. Okay, humans should be a good time. Humans is not a great matchup, but it's a lot of fun. That's wow. Well, you know, sometimes you got that whitelist energy. That's exactly what we needed here. But we're going to start off with an Inquisition. Let's hope for not double Mantis Rider. Oh, it's Spirits! Okay, I'm feeling a little better. Except for these companies are going to mess us up. We got a Thoughtseize for one of the companies. I think we're going to take the Selfless Spirits so that our Drown in the Lock can potentially do something here. We should just take the Lord. I think I'm going to take the Lord. Reason being that we're not getting this Death Shadow going too quickly, and our life total might be under some serious duress here. Okay, just playing this? Yeah, you can't use that for white. Got to use that one. If we draw a Dismember, we get to Dismember this Noble Hierarch. That is pretty cool. Another Traverse is not what we were looking for, but maybe we can just Traverse for a black source, so this Drown the Lock can be online. That might be what we do here. Okay, we're definitely Thoughtseizing. Oh man, it'd be... Yeah, we couldn't fade the land. That's okay. So we're going to clench as tight as we can. Grab a swamp. Pass turn. Hope for the best. Yeah, Dismember on that Hierarch would have been nuts. And I think they're supposed to fire off this Collected Company in main phase to play around our permission. Oh, they need to tap green here. Yep, Coco. Well then. I hope they attack us now. That was pretty funny. Oh, man. Alright, cool. So they attack us, which is nice. That turns on our Death Shadow here. Draw Tarmogoyf? Peatland. Ooh, okay. So we can potentially crack Peatland on end step if we don't find anything good. What are our other options here? We could Drown a Lock to put an instant in the yard to help build towards Traverse, but I think we just need to play out our threats, right? Or our threat. I think we're going to do that, and then we're going to play the Peatland. This help if we need to grow the Death Shadow for any reason, we can do that, and additionally we could redraw an end turn if we need to do that as well. Okay, let's see what they do. Alright, they're just going to grow our Death Shadow, sure. Let's see what they have, if anything else is a follow-up. They have another Skyclave Apparition? A Selfless Spirit, sure. Okay, things are looking a little dicey. Ooh, Moorland Haunt's really good, too. Okay, we're going to draw. Okay, fetch land. Fatal Push is okay. So, what happens if we attack? If we attack and they line up blocks, or 6. If they triple block, then we only can kill one of them. And then Selfless Spirit, they can sack this Selfless Spirit. Yeah, so we do not have attacks. I think we need to play out this Lurrus. Potentially we need to gain some life, maybe. Because if they attack again... Yeah, we're just going to play out the Lurrus. That way, like, Bauble top decks are really, really good. Yeah. I guess this basic forest ended up being very awkward, though, didn't it? So they can attack for 5 in the air. What happens if we top deck a fetch land for this Temur Battle Rage? Well, let's see how they attack if they do. Okay. So if we fetch shock, we will have a 12/12. That means 24 trampling damage. And that would mean... Yeah, so fetch land might do it for us here. Stub, okay. Stub. So they just make another spirit and they attack with everything. We go to push this, and then they can just sack this, and then they have 4 attacking in the air. So we have to attack with the Luris this turn. Yeah, we'll attack with the Luris. Yeah, so we can do something like attack with Luris. If they kill the Luris, we can fatal push something else to put... Okay. Then I think what we do is we go to fatal push a Selfless Spirit. Spell Queller, huh? Rattle Chains. Again, this forest. That gets us really good. So now are we dead? We've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 attackers because they can make another attacker with the Moorland Haunt. Obviously, we can't stub this. If we had black instead of this forest, we could have Drowning Lock this, which would have been amazing. But let me count it up again. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 is the attackers they'll have in the air. So I can't even... Because I fatal push to get Delirium, so we could traverse for another shadow, but now I think we're dead. Okay. Interesting game. Yeah, I think that basic forest... Funny enough that I swapped this basic forest for a island. Forest did let us traverse, but yeah. Maybe it was a sketchy keep. Maybe it was not the right keep, but obviously we really want Plague Engineer. Brutality can play a role. On the play, casting Collective Brutality on a Noble Hierarch and then snagging a Collected Company out of their hand is pretty great. I know it's not ideal, but we might just need more answers to dudes. And Cozy's Return seems okay. We'll think about this one. Again, gosh, we're cutting Cling to Dust, I think, in every matchup, so that's something for us to remember going into the future. Street Wraith, because we're taking a lot of damage off of them. And then maybe we can shave a Stub, because they're going to be way more creature-centric than anything else. Although Stub's a little better on the play, because you can snap an Ether Vial on turn 1. Let's see. So maybe only a single Assassin's Trophy, just as an out, potentially, to a Spirit. That might be killing us. Okay, well, let's give this another shot. Okay, so this hand, we're not going to keep this one. It just doesn't do anything. Inquisition turn 1. Don't have any way to turn on Traverse. So we're going to mulligan. I don't think we can go to 5. I don't think this is a winning hand. We need them to have turn 1 Ether Vial for them to really be relying on it. But maybe we play out some Tarmogoyfs and get there. I just don't... Not in this matchup do I think we can go to 5 and win. Just don't think that's possible. So yeah, we're just going to bottom that. This hand sucks. So it feels bad. Definitely feels bad to start off the league really strong and then to go on a losing slide like this. But we'll see how things turn out here. I'm not optimistic, though. You know, maybe if you feel differently, if we're supposed to mull deeper with this hand, maybe that's a thing. Okay, we're just praying for Ether Vial. Please, Ether Vial. Oh, thank God. Alright, so that's huge. That's huge. Oh, wow, that was really huge. Now we just need, like, removal spells. We're just going to try to play some thick Tarmogoyfs, see if we can beat down. If we hit another fetch land, we can go Tarmogoyf Death Shadow. Maybe we can just get really aggressive. All right, so they have that second land, so they weren't too reliant on Aether Vial, although hitting that Aether Vial was huge. Just gets the basic forest, sure. Noble Hierarch, sure. Yeah. Oh, they just have second Aether Vial? Okay. Dismember is what we want. Dismember. Sometimes if you say it out loud, it speaks it into existence. Alright, we're just going to hit in with the Tarmogoyf, play a second one. Next turn come the Skyclave Apparitions, which are just so scary. Those Skyclave Apparitions has really done a lot for this matchup for the Spirit side. It's a heck of a Magic card. But hey, if we hit that fetch land, we can Cozy's Return, which is pretty sweet. It will hit both the Hierarch and the... Oh, wow, they just have company here? Okay, sure. No Skyclave Apparitions. Please, opponents. Oh, and they hit the Supreme Phantom too, which grows the Skyclave Apparition out of Kozilek's return range. Man, oh man. Oh, it was such a bad draw. If I attack, they just take it, because they just... Alright, well that's the plan. We attack... that's really disappointing. Man, if that was a fetch land, we get Death Shadow rocking and rolling. Alright, well, sometimes it's not meant to be, I guess. I don't know. Like, were we supposed to mold a 5? Maybe. Molding a 5 feels so bad, though. Alright, opponent, what more do you have? We know you got it all, right? Just another Skyclave? I know, attack first. Sure. Traverse has felt really bad this league, hasn't it? Traverse has been really a huge liability. Just another Skyclave, sure, whatever. Yep. Such a good, it's such an insane card, man. Like Skyclave Apparition, what a crazy card. Alright, so... God, so like the thing that sucks is like they already have the Aether Violet too, which means they're already representing Rattle Chains. But we're going to try to go for what we can here. So we're going to play out our Death Shadow. And we'll see if we can find a good time for this Drown Lock. If they activate this Aether Vial, we're going to... Yeah, okay. So, massive high upside. We hit the Supreme Phantom, and then we hit the fetch land for this Kozilek's Return. That might be what we need, but if they're vialing in just a second Lord... Yeah, okay, Supreme Phantom. I think we, at this point, we have to go for the high upside play here. They just put another Lord, though, of course. This just, our plan falls apart. Okay. Oh. Ooh. Selfless Spirit really, really doesn't care about your Kozilek's Return. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, now we don't... I don't know if we have outs. And now they just have the Lord. Okay, yeah, sure, man. What? Just put in the Spell Queller to put me out of my misery. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Trog Skull Captain. Yeah, they just got the lock. Yeah, we don't have outs now. I guess I Inquisition, see if we learn anything about what Spirits is playing these days. And then we will scoop it up. Wow, they had it. Woo! Man, sometimes your opponent just has it, right? You stub the turn 1 Aether Vial and they just have it again in turn 2. Jeez, we got riggedy wrecked. Okay, well, let's see if we can salvage this. That was a big bummer. Big bummer, but, you know, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we were supposed to mulligan to 5. But man, a hand that they had there. I mean, it would have to have been a very special 5-card hand. Yeah, I'm not sure what a 5-card hand would look like that would beat their hand there. Something really special. Something with like And top decking just all gas, you know, I don't know. So, all right, win the die roll. Always feels good. Sure. I guess we can keep this. Hopefully these fatal pushes are live. Ooh, where was this hand when we were playing against spirits? So we're going to go ahead and bobble ourselves. Do we want to do that, though? Let me think. So, if we Peatland Inquisition, or, yeah, I don't know if it matters that much. Okay, so let's go ahead and bobble ourselves. That way we have the option to do Fetch Land or Stubborn Denial. Okay. So we were going to grab a Watery Grave off this anyway. So in the blind, I'm actually fine to go ahead and pass. Draw the stub. If they have a turn 1 stub, a stub target, that's cool. If they have a creature on turn 1, we have Fatal Push. So let's see what they have going on. Okay. Ether Vial, wow. We playing against Goblins? Ooh. Goblins is sweet, but scary because Goblins is not a great matchup in my opinion. Let's go ahead and untap. Okay, so Nurturing Peatland has more damage over the long run. So we're going to go ahead and use that. And we're going to see if this is Goblins. Goblins playing the Pathway. That's kind of a cool... Actually, that seems really good. All right, yeah. Oh, man, yeah. Are we beating this hand? Probably not, huh? We take the Matron for sure. That's one of their most powerful cards. Yeah, we're just going to pass the turn. We're going to 5. We're only going to 13 next turn. That was a... yeah, okay. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want this to be... oh, man, that's such a bad draw. Oh, man. God bless it. God bless it. Oh, boy. Okay, so the reason I had that reaction was because a Mog War Marshal is just like... maybe the best draw, because what it means is that my plan was for their munitions expert was to fatal push something in response so that this potentially wouldn't kill a Death Shadow that I played. Basically, yeah, and they're just not attacking, so we're just going to take a damage, untap, and now we can't even play our Death Shadow next turn. And that was our worst draw because, again, if it was a fetch land, then maybe we could grow the Shadow out of the range of this munitions expert that they're planning to cast on us. Okay, so that whole preamble aside, we hit a Blood Crypt, which is okay. It means we can make this Death Shadow a 3/3, and if they have no other Goblin and they go for the Munitions Expert, we can potentially blow them out. So I think that's what we're going to go for. We're just going to play out that Death Shadow. And if we need to double Fatal Push something, that's what we're going to do. But yeah, that Mog War Marshal... in fact, I would have been tempted to maybe take the War Marshal if it was in their opening hand. This card is just so good against this. It's really funny how innocuous this 2-drop is, but it really does so much for the synergies of their deck. And now I think they just Ringleader here just to refill their hand, and yeah, we'll see what they hit into. And that was the same artwork. Yep. So they have the combo now, and they hit another Ringleader. So yeah, I don't really see a way we win this game. Alright, we're going to damage ourselves, especially because they know they don't have to attack. They can just do whatever. Yeah, I guess we bobble ourselves. No, do we bobble ourselves? We just... I don't really think decisions are going to matter at this point, so... we'll bobble them. Drawing an Auntie's Hovel, sure. Alright, Tarmogoyf. Yeah, maybe we wanted to bobble ourselves. We could have drawn up Peatland and played it, but nah, I don't feel like I've kind of given up at this point, to be honest with y'all. Maybe that's bad, but I don't know. Okay, they Harbinger first, which is interesting. Not sure what that means. What are they putting on top? Yeah, Sling Gang. Okay, yeah. All right, this Goblins player has definitely been around the block before, because now this is fun. So they did that because now their Snoop has the activated ability of the Sling Gang. Which means they can deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage to us at any time. Okay, so what are they telling us with this attack? If they hit us with 2... What happens if I go like this? What's their reaction here? Okay. That's interesting. Hold on. If I take this all, I go to 5. I go to 5, right? How big does my shadow need to be to kill them off of a top deck Teamer Battle Rage? Not a lot, because we have this Fatal Push, right? So if I go to 5, I hit myself down to 4 with this Peatland this turn, and then I go down to 3 next turn, it's a 10-10. Or do I need a draw off of it? Either way, I actually think I'm taking this. Yeah, I'm going to just draw. So the one thing is I could damage myself down to 4, damage myself down to 3, but then it's only a 10-10, and we only have the one Fatal Push. There's the fetch land. We top deck the Teamer Battle Rage. No, we don't. Okay. Well, fetch land is definitely not how we're going to win this game. Next turn, they just play the Sling Gang Lieutenant, and then we're just dead, right? So maybe I should have thought that a little bit through a little bit more, thinking about how just Sling Gang Lieutenant just cast next turn is just lethal. So with that in mind, I think we just play out this Tarmogoyf. Okay, so it's lethal because they play the Sling Gang. In response, I fetch and push it, and then they can just sack off 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's self 5, and that will be 1 more than lethal. So what I'm going to do, this is silly. I mean, this is just, we're just in total, like, well, garbage time refers to usually when you're winning, but this is losing garbage time. So I'm just going to go like this, and hopefully get some blocks out of them for them to be afraid of Teamer Battle Rage. Yeah, if this is a fetch land, you need to... 22... Oh, no, okay, so... Actually, it's not the best ball. Okay, I'm just going to concede. We're just going to stop this nonsense charade that I'm playing and just go to the next game. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I mean, getting totally bodied by the tribal decks, you know, not the first time it's happened to Death Shadow. I'll just put it that way. It's funny, Ashiok. Oh, man, this is so bad, but, like, maybe this matchup's just bad enough that we need something like Ashiok. Let's see what we want to take out first. What do we not like? All right, so 5 out of 5, we're cutting Cling to Dust. You gotta remember that. We're cutting Stubbs. And then maybe we can trim on a Street Wraith or 2. Excuse me. Know how much Brutality does. Brutality kills... Yeah, I mean, these cards are really embarrassing against Goblins. The 1-for-1 removal is pretty bad. You want Plague Engineers and Kozilek's Return. Ether Gust is nice because you can catch a Ringleader, stuff like that. So maybe we want the redraw. And we can cut another Street Wraith, because dealing damage to ourselves, as you saw there, can be a really dicey proposition. Okay, we would love to play first. And this is a painful hand, but I think we're going to keep Thoughtseize and a Tarmogoyf. The best way to try to get Goblins is to put them really on the back foot. Put them on the back foot as much as we can. And with that in mind, I'm honestly tempted just to fetch Basic Swamp here. If we draw a Death Shadow, we can turn it on pretty easily with this Dismember and other fetch lands. So I think fetching Basic Swamp's pretty free here. Another way we might be able to cheese out a win here is if they Mold Deep. We draw Bauble and we get Luris Loops going. Okay, we go to 6. Yeah, we're just going to grab Basic Swamp. They have a Chalice of the Void. That's so mean, opponent. So hateful. Yeah, I guess we take the Chalice so they don't cast anything until turn 3. Also, it grows the Tarmogoyf. Okay, Anti-Sobble tapped. Yeah, we're just going to play turn 2 Tarmogoyf, and then we can untap an Inquisition. Hopefully grab that Matron. That Matron's very good against us. Well, very good in general. You know, Matron's such an awesome, powerful tool in their arsenal. Alright, we only have Ether Gust. But we want green, and I guess we want blue is fine, so we can just grab a Breeding Pool. That's okay. And then this can grab a Blind Crypt. Alright, no Mog War Marshal, please, opponent. That would be really nice of you if you didn't top deck into a Mog War Marshal. Alright, so what are our good top decks? Bobble is totally fine. Excuse me. Death Shadow would be great. If they play a creature here, we can dismember it and then Death Shadow. What else are we interested in? They play the Cavern of Souls. Opponent, I thought I said very specifically to not top deck that card. Alright, now Death Shadow's our best one, so we can dismember. Okay, that's actually okay. We can go ahead and Inquisition. I did ask, and I asked nicely too. I was so polite about it. I was very, you know... Oh, they were trying to decide to play the Ether Vial or not? Interesting stuff from our opponent. Yeah, I wonder about that decision. Yeah, this definitely makes sense why they were paused there for so long. Yeah, I really don't know. Normally, it's really bad to just attack into a Mog War Marshal, but I would rather them not pay Echo here. And we just have to bite the bullet here anyway. Alright. So they have land Ether Vial in hand. But of course, Goblins has some of the best top decks of anyone else when they're playing a game like ours. You know, fair matchup like this. That's a little scary that they're just going in for it. But I guess it makes sense because they're currently winning this race. But we can just go ahead and attack back. And then we can play out Aluris. And then we're going to gain some life back, which will be nice. But yeah, you know, it's why it's so fun to play Goblins, man. Like, you know, you tick up the Ether Vial to 3, you just top deck the Matron, you just go Matron for Ringleader, and then you're just back in business, just absolutely wrecking. Alright, not Ether Vial, what was I asking for? I was asking for a... And I was very... And remember, I was very politely asking for a Mishra's Bauble. Mishra's Bauble, please. We can attack with both, and if they double block here, we can Fatal Push. And then, but if they have a Munitions Expert, that kind of gets blown out, so I'm just going to attack with the Tarmogoyf. Oh, Plague Engineer would have been fine too, of course. At any time we draw that Plague Engineer, it's just GG. Alright, but it is a bummer here because we just are giving them lots of turns, and that's what Goblins wants. They just need turns. If they, you know, if they take more turns, they're just massively more favored here. But they're drawing land after land after land, which is really good for us. If they shock this in, I will not be 100% sure what they're playing. And we are missing... Oh, one thing about the attack with both line, I didn't even realize there are no instants in Yards. What do they have? Are they playing old school? Oh, Kiki Cheeky, sure. Sure. So that Kiki Jiki is being sent to Jesus. Because Kiki Jiki plus any other threat that they have. Yeah, sure. Make a dude. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. I should have done that on their second main. That's so funny. I forgot. For some reason, I had in my head, it's target non-legendary. For some reason, I thought I had non-token. That's hilarious. Now we can't attack with the Lurrus again. That's so funny. And they have a free block here. All right, that's one of those things, as Mike would say, that was one of those small percentage things. But man, Magic cards, sometimes it's tough. Wow. Yeah, they're just doing everything they need to do. I mean, we've gotten so lucky that they bricked for this long, but it's just Ringleader and they're back. Oh, or Matron? Or, yeah, Ringleader. All right. Well, I'm sorry, you guys. If anyone here is watching you know, was hoping for a better league, I apologize, you know. Never will say I play perfect because, you know, I often don't, but, yeah. That's unfortunate. Yeah, and sometimes it can get really discouraging on playing on Magic Online. At least for me. I know some people are just crushers and they just win everything they play, which is sweet. But, you know, sometimes it does get discouraging. And, but, you know, you got to do what you can do and you try to have to think over, you know, what you messed up, what you didn't do right. Yeah, look, I mean, look, they bricked, but they still hit a card that is just going to kill us. And so now, actually, what can we do here? All right, so actually what I think I'm going to do is I actually think I'm going to Fatal Push this so I can Thoughtseize that. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing here. Funny enough, if we draw a Temur Battle Raging the Lurrus is actually not that bad. Can we get... Not that. That's not what I wanted. Just something that's really good and relevant. I don't know what it could be. Dismember? Not really. All right, so we're definitely Thoughtseizing here. We're taking out the Sling Gang. And it's like, is it time to attack with Lurrus and get them to double chump it? I've held off on doing this for so many turns. I guess that we can do it. We can dismember one of the Goblin tokens. It doesn't feel great, but we get to earn back some of that life. All right, so they just... turn off audios. Okay, yeah, so we'll go ahead and... use this Dismember. Doesn't feel great, but again, we get to gain back some of that life, and we get to keep our Lurrus around. In case we top deck a Bauble, it would be really insane with this Lurrus. Yep. Again, their top decks are insane, right? Like, they have to actually factually brick on almost everything. Conspicuous Snoop, look how much mana they have. They can start rattling things off. Bogart Harbinger goes and grabs something really great, leaves behind a chump blocker. You know, Matron... Oh, they have Terminate. Interesting. Ooh, I used to play some Terminates in... Yeah, so why didn't they terminate the... Oh, they had to terminate the Lure. They couldn't because they would just be dead on board. Alright, well, we... I thought 100% we were losing this. Now let's see what they... But again, we're definitely not out of the woods, right? Like, I was just rattling off all the things they could draw that will just totally devastate us here. Alright, wow. We made it to turn 8 and still won. They bricked so hard for us to get as far as we did. Wowzers, wowzers, wowzers. Okie doke. Yeah, nothing else is really that exciting. Yeah, not that excited about anything else here. Yeah, if tribal decks are back, first of all, sweet. And second of all, maybe we need a little bit more help for those. This hand is obviously unkeepable, so we're going to mulligan. What are we looking for in our hand on the draw? The draw is tough. The draw is really tough because they get to go way far ahead of us. Something like this, though. This could work. And I will bottom probably this Ether Gust on the draw. I'd rather keep my threats, rather keep my interaction here. No Ether Vial? Dang. Sometimes you ask your opponent politely and they help you out there. Okay, cool. So we're going to quick maths real quick. Oh, no, do we need a quick maths? No, we don't. Actually, I think we just bottle ourselves, right? Because we're going to be doing... Wait, so this is fetch. This is 3. This is 15. This is 17. So we probably are just going to turn 2 Tarmogoyf. So why don't we go ahead and bobble ourselves? We see something like Plague Engineer, Kozilek's Return, another Death Shadow. Okay, so another Death Shadow means that this is 4, that takes us to 16. We'd have to hit exactly Street Wraith, of which we've sideboarded 2 of them out. I don't want to draw another Death Shadow and it be dead in hand. Our opponent has already shown their keenness to not attack us unless they really need to. Do we go for high upside and just have more, try to have more threats than the Goblin player? We might have to go for that. Those are both really good cards. I like their keep. But I think we have to take the Ringleader here. Yeah, I really like that. I like their keep there. Because it's clear that they had a hand that was a little low on resources. So I like that they knew what was good. Ether Vial, lands, Mogwar Marshal, Goblin Ringleader. That's sick. Goodness gracious. Alright, now we get to go double Death Shadow. That's insanity. Just blood crit. Well, we have the other fetch line, so it doesn't matter too much. That was insanity. Cool. So if we top deck a Plague Engineer, that will probably just be game. Oh, Traverse the Uvenwald as well, because I just realized we have Delirium. Let's see if they pay Echo. I actually kind of want them to pay Echo, because it means that, yeah, it means that they're probably not going to do anything else here. Blood Crypt. Shocking it in. Interesting. Oh, another Ether Vial? Okay. I mistracked. Did I? Or did they have this? No, they went Blackleaf Quest. So yeah, we don't know their hand, right? Yeah, because we haven't seen a trust slip. I'm just going to attack with both. Just go block, block, and then we'll play a Tarmogoyf. Well, they're only blocking 1. Okay, then I'll just fetch shock. Alright. We got some big boys on board. Obviously, they have fire top decks from here, though. They have fire top decks. So, if they don't play something too devastating here, then we have, what are our outs? Our really good outs here are going to be Plague Engineer, Kozilek's Return, Temur Battle Rage. Okay, just another land. Just gonna land, and we're just jamming. I don't think I'm fetching shocking. Well, let's see how they block. If they do. Okay. Alright, we're presenting lethal with 2 creatures now. Is this Bogart Harbinger? Yep. And then probably putting a Ringleader on top, I would assume. Or putting a Sling Gang Lieutenant. So now our outs are Temur Battle Rage, Kozilek's Return, Traverse the Uvenwald, I'll even take a Lurrus of the Dream Den. 4 outs that are pretty backbreaking for our opponent here. The fact that they're tanked here maybe tells me that their other card in hand's a blank, or maybe it's a good card and they're trying to see how to pair it up with this whatever they're fetching with this Harbinger. Ooh, Pashlik Mons is interesting. What does that mean about what's in their hand here? I wonder if they have a way to kill me here. Alright. So they're going to violin. They already have the Sling Gang Lieutenant. So that's 2, 4, 6. They can 6, 8. Okay, so we have to respond to this trigger. So Pashlik Mons plus Sling Gang is damage to us. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pashlikmon sees itself when it dies. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we have to Fatal Push this. I think we're going to be alive, but just barely. It's pretty scary here. Maybe I should explain myself a little bit more here. Slinging Lieutenant can sacrifice a goblin to drain us. And Pashlikmon says whenever a goblin dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. These two together are a really potent engine. It allows you to deal 2 damage, and the Pashlikmons can send damage at any target, so it can go to planeswalkers or creatures. So this setup right here is really powerful. The opponent's doing the math like I was. And, yep, so they get 2 triggers off of this. 4, 5. If they do this, then they'll go to 3. And if they sack itself, we'll go to 2. And they'll leave behind 2 chump blockers. But they can't do that because that'll make... Oh, no, they gain life. So they could do that because then our Death Shadows will not be lethal. Alright, so they're choosing not to do that. I think that's smart. Because this means that any damage... Anytime a goblin dies now, they deal 3 damage to us. So what that means, I think we are only out as Team Battle Rage. Oh, wow. So what does this mean now? So if I gust the Pashlikmons and then attack, then it means that these goblins dying don't deal damage to me. If I do that and I attack with everything, they go chump chump and they go to 6, and then they're top decking. If they put Pashlikmons back on top, then they'll die. Wow, that was such a good top deck from us. Oh my goodness. So they have to bottom this, right? Because then they'll just die. They bottomed it. So I'm just thinking about their outs. If I attack with both Death Shadows... I'm thinking if I attack with everything or not. So if I attack with just the both Death Shadows, they go chump chump. They're still at 11. And then we have 2 lethal attackers. I think we have to attack with everything. Because if they top deck something like Mog War Marshal, then they can just go block, block, and still stay alive. So I think we just have to attack with everything. Wow, that Aether Gust was so good. I forgot about Aether Gust being a top deck here. This is it. This is for all the marbles. Can we feed the children today? This has been a unreal fantastic game. GG's in chat to our opponent. Regardless what happens, they played so well. Wow, I think we got it. Wow, I think we got it. Okay, can I go back and tell our... Let's see if they're still there. Honestly, the opponent, Nap Dark Mage, really well played, man. That was such an insane game. My heart's racing. That was insane. Wow. There was that moment in game 2. I started doing the whole I apologize speech because I thought we were 2-3. Oh, that was a rush. All right, so playing Death Shadows like being a drug addict because just every time your heart's racing, and wow. Okay. Oh man, I can't even think right now. I got the Death Shadow brain fog. I probably messed up so much in that league, but I had a lot of fun. Even though there was that moment in game 2 in Goblins where it got a little dark, but you know, I hope you stuck with me. I really appreciate it if you did. Hey, if you enjoyed this, give it a like. Also, please comment down below. Tell me how you would have done things differently. I'd love to know about that. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.